And today I want to talk to you about sharing your story or sharing your testimony. You know, your story, your testimony can be a powerful bridge into someone else's life. You can't debate what Christ has done in your life. And so I want to ask you, you notice the ask on the handout. I want to ask you if you'll consider this week to write out your story, to write out your testimony. On the back of this handout has some questions to get you to thinking about how to write it out. And I want you to consider 3 different paragraphs or 3 different kind of thoughts as you write out your testimony, to just jot it down. Even if you've done it maybe 2 years ago, it's good to refresh it, to blow off the dust, to get the rust out, and to write your story out again. Now think through, what has God done and where has God brought you to this point? I'm going to ask you, if you will, to film you sharing your story under 2 minutes. And we'll talk about ways we'll help you do that. But just to film, get someone to film you on your phone, and then share it on social media. That's one way you can share your story. Throw it out on social media. And pray for God to give you an opportunity this next month to share your story. I got an email at 3:30 this morning. I didn't see it till 6. At 3:30 this morning, I got an email from one of our deacons and his wife that this weekend she got to share her story, and then he got to follow it with the gospel, and they led someone to Christ at an ice cream shop this weekend. Isn't that glorious? God can use you in your story as well. Now, as you think about writing your story, you don't need to exaggerate and glorify your past. You're not telling fishing stories here. My story is not full of lots of wild days and wild women and those type of things. I'm not trying to make it up. I'm just telling my story. But we want to tell what God has done. So we don't need to tell fishing stories and make stuff up. And we also don't want to exaggerate our past either. Sometimes people tell their story and they act like that when Christ came in their life and saved them, their world ended. If you tell your story in a way that sounds like your life ended when you accepted Christ, you don't fully understand all that Christ has done in your life. Okay? But we don't need to exaggerate the past. We also need to avoid Christianese and churchy words. Sometimes people tell their story, they'll say this, well, then I got washed in the blood. Well, I know what you're saying by washed in the blood. But if you're not a Christian, if you got washed in the blood, you sound like a cult, and I want no part of that. Okay? So watch those Christianese or churchy words. Keep it short and simple, under 2 minutes. I even had a staff member that when he filmed his story, it was 2 minutes and 15 seconds, and I asked him to redo it. Under 2 minutes. We don't need to hear about the day you ran over your cat or the day the school bus left you, unless that was very pivotal moments in your life of coming to know Christ. Just the main things. Keep it short and simple. And when you tell your story, really it's not about you. It's really Christ's story in you, what God has done in your life. So 3 parts to your story. What was your life like before Christ? What's one negative impact on your life before Jesus? I mean, feelings maybe of loneliness or guilt or purposelessness, or how you're seeking satisfaction. What was your life like before Christ? Then specifically, how did you come to know Jesus as your Savior? Often when people tell their story, they'll say words like, I got saved. Well, great. But what did you get saved from? What did Christ do? Be specific. What did you ask Christ to do in your life? What did you believe? And maybe you want to record a Bible verse in there. And then, what difference has Christ made? Now that you're a Christian, how has Christ transformed your life? And one of the things we want to talk about maybe is your assurance of heaven, your assurance of being with King Jesus.